Welcome to Microsoft Community Insight podcast, where we share insights from community experts to stay up to date in Azure. My name is Nicholas, and I'll be your host today. In this podcast, we'll dive into applied AI. So I'm not sure if that's the theme, but we'll go into it in a minute. But before we get started, I remind you to follow us on social media so you never miss an episode and help us reach more amazing people like yourself. Today, we have a special guest called Veronika. But Kolesnikova, sorry, I pronounced it wrong. Can you please start by introducing yourself, please?
Hey, Nicholas. Yeah, I have a really hard last name. So my name is Veronika Kolesnikova. I live here in Boston, Massachusetts. I am senior software engineer and working for an insurance company here in Boston. And I'm also a Microsoft MVP in AI. And I've been Microsoft MVP for 5 years. Hopefully, I'll get another
Yeah,
one this year. Fingers crossed. July is coming pretty soon. And also, I am a co-organizer of Boston Azure User Group. I do mentorship. I do community work as much as I can. So yeah, trying different things here and there.
okay. So before we get started with applied AI, we will just dig into your community, some amazing community work you do. So recently, I saw that you was part of you did a post on responsible AI in Microsoft blog.
Yes.
So what is that about? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so responsible AI is very important, and I'm trying to educate people about that. And I am going to go to KCDC, that's Kansas City Developer Conference, which is going
Yeah,
to happen in a couple of weeks. I'm going to talk about responsible AI there as well. I think it's very important. A lot of people use AI now, it's really democratized with generative AI, large language models. It's everywhere and everyone is trying
yeah,
to use it one way or another, but not a lot of people think about it in responsible way. They don't know that it is also so-called piece of software. So as you care about security of your software, you need to
yeah.
care of security and actually implementing all those responsible AI principles with your AI and machine learning tools.
Okay, so what are those principles that you mentioned to responsible AI?
Yeah, there are a couple of main principles, um, uh, oh, yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
I
It's okay.
I got lost
Yeah.
a little bit.
No,
You put
no
me on the
worries. Sorry.
spot. Yeah, so the openness, so you need to, something like transparency, for example.
Yeah.
You need to understand how your model is working behind the scene.
Yeah.
It is really hard to do it with generative AI and large language models just because those models are so big that it's hard to understand each bit and piece that goes into that, like all the data that comes in, all the data that comes out. I think the main opportunity to see it in transparent way is to what those teams do, what they actually work on in those large language models, for example, and how they test the transparencies, that they just provide different inputs and then get different outputs and then see and compare what parameters they need to change in the input in order to get different output. And that kind of gives them perspective how it works behind the scene and what's the logic
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Cool. So I saw that you're quite popular in the tech community, like going away, like conferences and meetups and stuff. Could you explain how that impacted your career and your personal development before we get started and apply AI? So,
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, so it helped me a lot actually. I started my public speaking maybe in 2018.
yeah.
I was ready for next step in my career. I was looking for another job at that point, and I just met really nice people in community here in Boston. One of them is James 31. I can't thank him enough because he basically changed my life. He became my mentor and he pushed me into
Okay.
public speaking. He's working for Microsoft, and that's how he landed his job at Microsoft. And he's like, okay, you want to find a new job, just start being more active in the community, maybe start public speaking. And I was very, very afraid to do any kind of public presentations or just speak in front of people. But yeah, I'm glad that he and then later Bill Wilder and Jason Haley, they pushed me, they stood by me. And then based on that experience and then
Yeah.
my community work, I got noticed. I got a different job at that time. And then thanks to my community work, and now I know a lot of people in the community, I found that my current job as well. So
Yeah.
it definitely works really well. And then I can travel to all those cool places and talk about stuff that I really love, AI and machine learning, and people listen to me there. So that is really, really nice.
So did you get started in AI as a software engineer or just when you become an MVP?
Yeah, so that goes back to my story how I became MVP. I started speaking about two streams of work at the same time. I was really
Yeah.
into mobile cross-platform solutions. I was talking about Xamarin, and at the same time, at that time, I fell in love with Azure Cognitive Services. So
Yeah.
I also started talking about that, and then I was kind of in between those two fields. And then Microsoft actually made the choice for me. They gave me a MVP award in AI, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that's a sign. I need to focus a little more on machine learning. And then that actually started my learning journey and then speaking journey, and that's how I actually fell in love in with machine learning and artificial intelligence.
Yeah. And I take it you do more majority of the AI at work where you work at the moment currently.
No. I'm mostly doing back-end development, so I'm
Yeah.
writing services. We're working on login and registration for that insurance company website. Yeah, so that's my day job, and for during my free time, I
Yeah.
actually learn a lot about machine learning and AI, and then come back to the community and share my knowledge.
Yeah. That's good because not every software engineer knows AI, so that's good to get a head start. Okay, that's brilliant. So let's dive into applied AI. So I'm not sure what it is because before we started, you say it's not called applied AI, but I saw some like some docs in Microsoft say applied AI. Do you know what it is? Is that still the name?
Full story behind it. I think there was a cognitive services, Azure
Yeah,
Cognitive Services that I mentioned before, and then Microsoft split them into two parts: Azure Applied AI and then Azure Cognitive Services. Now I'm actually not sure if they still call them Applied AI Services or Applied Services, whatever.
yeah,
Those names they changed so fast.
yeah. No, it's
Now
called AI service now. Agile AI, I think. Yeah,
yeah, Azure AI. That's the main thing that people are using right now, and Microsoft is promoting. So with the popularity of OpenAI and the partnership
yeah,
between Microsoft and OpenAI, Microsoft definitely pushes everything towards generative AI, and obviously those new models can do a lot of stuff. So in a lot of cases, you don't need additional services like cognitive services used to be, or applied AI services.
Oh, okay, so it was an old name. Okay, so it's not new name. Okay. So what are some of the, since you're really active on AI now, what are some of the real world use cases or like practical experience that you made that impacted your career? as an MVP in AI? It could be
Yeah,
any any lab that you find interesting, any real world scenario that you think it's very interesting to share.
yeah, definitely. So with the launch of that partnership between Microsoft and OpenAI, and then
Yeah,
Microsoft releasing Azure OpenAI service, I think um, that changed a lot in everyone's lives, I guess, especially
yeah,
developers. Now, we developers getting even closer. You don't need to know anything basically about AI and how to build those models. Now you can just plug in the API and then use all the benefits of those generative AI solutions. I do like the content safety tools. I use them a lot when I'm playing with some tools or trying to build something on my own. That I think it's very important, and I'm trying to include it in my talk about responsible AI, since now that maybe old responsible AI
yeah,
perspective is not that valid anymore, since people are not building those machine learning models from scratch. I mean, they still can, but
yeah,
not a lot of people are they required to do that anymore. So now there is a new focus on the content safety and actually monitoring all the inputs and outputs that are going into generative AI solutions, and how those models are reacting, and what guardrails you can put around those models. So there are some of them are pre-built, but you still need to verify that it's not producing some kind of
yeah,
garbage or some kind of harmful
yeah.
content.
Because I remember at Microsoft Build to announce Prompt Shield, so that's next level of content safety, I think, because you can integrate Prompt Shield with content safety. Have you tried that before?
Yeah, so I haven't checked the prompt chill specifically, but they also announced a lot of different things related to content safety.
Yeah,
For example, the groundness analysis. So now, if you build a solution using, for example, RAG approach or retrieval augmented generation, that means you can actually test your solution before you ship it to production. You can check that, verify that the groundness is at acceptable level. That means that your solution is not making up information, and it actually relies on the information that you shared with that, whether you shared documentation or specific information related to your company or your clients or something, and then you can actually verify it and reduce
yeah,
the amount of hallucination, because hallucination is a big problem still. And I'm
yeah,
glad that developers and machine learning specialists can actually do it before shipping that solution, and they don't have to like just
yeah.
rely on the end users and
Yeah.
figure out if
I'm
it
not
works or
sure
not.
what they mean by groundness. How can you test the groundness of the AI?
Yeah, so groundness is how close to actual factual information
Yeah,
the answers are. And especially, I mentioned retrieval augmented generation. That's when you using your own information on top of maybe GPT-4 or something like that. So you combining all the benefits of that maybe knowledge set that you have about something specific related to your company, in addition to all the knowledge that GPT-4 has. And then when you are combining those two sources,
yeah,
then you need to verify that your solution is not producing just some random answers. It produces answers based on the documentation that you shared, and
yeah.
actually,
Because I
yeah.
remember trying to do it like at work and stuff, and a colleague that knows about AI saying about hallucination, but he's saying, I think what he meant is something about when AI make up answer. Is that correct? Something?
Yeah, and it's a big problem. That's why
Yeah,
you can test that groundness and
yeah.
verify that it's actually producing factual information and not just random stuff.
Okay, so you can just actually by testing groundness, you can make it close to real world and then reduce the hallucination
Yes.
in the AI modules. Okay. So what are the sorry, in your opinion, what which how would you what are some of the best practice for organization when deploying AI modules in you think?
So the best practice is obviously responsible and secure
Yeah,
practice. I'm
yeah,
trying to really emphasize that
yeah,
topic
yeah,
today. And there you can actually use all those tools, and some of them I just mentioned here. But also there are lots of other tools. Some of them are not even Microsoft specific. So whatever people decide to use for their solutions, it's totally up to them. But you can verify something like groundness, for example. You can verify that your model is transparent before you deploy your solution, and then you can keep monitoring it once you release it.
yeah,
And then if something goes wrong, then you can update it or add additional information, maybe change your prompts, maybe change your content safety restrictions. And then you have alerts at every step, like before you deploy, during, when people use actually your
yeah. So
solution.
every stage of the deployment, just keep testing it.
Yeah, keep using the tools, so you don't have to like just sit there and stare at it.
Yeah,
But there are tools that can identify all those issues, maybe with groundness or maybe some issues with responses. Um, being completely inadequate, or when your system keeps telling, I don't know. Users don't want to see that, they want to get real answers. So maybe
yeah,
at some point you can add more information. If you're using a RAG approach, then maybe you need to add information there. Or maybe you can, if you have an opportunity to have that passage to a real person, if it's, for example, some kind of support agent,
yeah.
there might be an opportunity to pass the information to real person, and then real person can take it from there.
Okay, so from this is a weird question, but from your experience from using AI so far, what challenge did you think organization or anyone face when using AI? Is it learning the tools like Python to use OpenAI, or is it just be aware of the security concern like the responsible AI, like you mentioned?
Yeah, it's everything. It depends on the company. I'm working for an insurance company, so we have a lot
Yeah,
of personal information, and that's why maybe we are not the first jumping on that wagon with
yeah,
generative AI, because we do need to make sure that we are not just sharing personal information with any kinds of tools or outside resources. Also, challenges might be as simple as prompt engineering. So we do have internal GPT solution for internal usage, and a lot of people, even developers who are very technical and they know a lot about coding, but they don't know a
yeah,
lot of AI and generative AI. They do have a lot of problems with prompting.
yeah,
They don't know what's the system prompt is, and how come someone asks the same question but they get in different results. And it's definitely harder for people who are less technical. Yeah, it's a little bit maybe learning curve for them as well. Python, I don't think it's a big problem. I guess it also depends on the company.
yeah,
I try to learn Python as much as I can, but since I don't use it on daily basis, I keep forgetting it and then
Yeah,
relearning it over
it's
and over.
it's very useful in in OpenAI, but you can use from JavaScript as well. I think, but I think it's I think default as in your OpenAI is Python, because you can just you can, I mean, having a source code of all your deployment, everything, even though you can use infrastructure as code like Bicep and Terraform as well. You just
Yeah, there are lots of options that you can use with other languages. If you use an APIs, obviously you can connect it to whatever solution you want. It doesn't
yeah,
have to be in Python. If you want to do something like LangChain, for example, then there are two options there. JavaScript option, I used it with TypeScript, for example, and Python option. There is something like if you don't know those two things, but you still want to do something similar to LangChain, there is
yeah.
a semantic kernel that can be used with C Sharp.
Okay. I've not heard about semantic kernel. Could you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't worked with it. I attended a
It's
couple
okay.
of
Yeah,
sessions. So I think it is kind of similar to
yeah,
LangChain, and I work with LangChain. So it's basically a structure that can connect different pieces together. For example, you connect into different data sources,
okay,
and then you connect into your pieces of code, and then you connect into different large language models, so it kind of creates the structure of your solution where you can just change different pieces easily.
okay. Thanks. So, if someone were to become like an AI, like learn AI, do you recommend they start as a software engineer like yourself in order to be like an AI engineer or AI scientist?
Ideally, yes, it's good to know everything,
Yeah,
but it's not a requirement, especially now when basically your natural language becomes language of interaction with AI,
yeah,
with all the prompting, a lot of opportunities for people who don't know how to code at all, something like Power Platform, low code, no code solutions. So I don't think it's a requirement. It's nice to know, it's nice to understand about
yeah,
machine learning and how it was built, the generative AI, the background of it, and also software engineering skills. But I don't think it's a requirement.
yeah. I don't know, because anyone can just learn the AI stuff, but you can just pick up Python as you see source code of like Microsoft backend and stuff. Just reverse engineer it to learn it, really.
Yeah, yeah.
So before we close off this episode, I want you to like find out more about yourself. So, are you going to any tech events and stuff in the future?
Yeah, I just mentioned in the beginning of the show, I'm planning to be at KCDC, Kansas
Okay, what
City
is that?
Developer Conference. It's in Kansas City, Missouri. It's going to be in exactly 2 weeks, I think, from today.
Okay. Are
Then
you are you speaking or are you just attending as attendance?
I'm speaking there.
What's the session? Or
I'm going to talk about responsible AI and content safety.
okay, nice. So, will it be recorded or some people have to just go to in person
Yeah,
to
I
see it?
think they have to go in person.
Nice. Yeah,
We also, since I'm a co-organizer of Boston Azure, we are running both in-person and virtual events. So if
yeah,
people can check it out, we have our meetup page, we have our website with all the links, we
yeah.
have YouTube channel where we post all our recordings from virtual meetups. So it's a good opportunity to learn in person and virtually.
Yeah, I'll put the links in the show notes later. So, so is there anything you like to say for is any recommended resources for people to start learning AR or applied AI? So anything in general if they want to get started?
Yeah, yeah. There are so many good resources. I definitely recommend check Microsoft Learn. They have really good articles. They have, in general, Microsoft documentation is very good. They have links to GitHub where you can see how it was built, see some examples there, use the Learn modules. I think the build challenge is still running, so people can still join and learn about AI and maybe get discount for certificates, get certified, which is really cool. And even if you don't want to get certified, it's just
Yeah.
cool way to kind of learn about AI altogether. It's a nice package. So
Yeah.
it covers all the bases, all the main things that people want to know.
Yeah, plus a start from fundamentals. So if you're new to AI, they give you like AI fundamentals, so that's a certification that you can get as well. So how can someone get in touch with you if they want ask any question regarding AI or anything that we discussed?
Yeah,
Veronika?
sure. So I'm on LinkedIn. People can find me there. But please, please, please write a message why you want to connect. There's
Yeah.
so many different people there. And then I am also on X, which is X Twitter. So people can also reach out
I advise
through
the best
that.
way to connect to her is go to our user group, Boston Agile user group, and turn on your camera and say hi. And then when you add her on LinkedIn, she will know who you are then.
Of course, yeah, that's
Yeah,
a good opportunity.
that's one of
Yeah,
the best way.
yeah.
Okay. No worries. Thanks for coming in this episode, Veronika. Let me just close it off.
Thank
Hope
you
you
so
enjoy
much.
it. So in few weeks, it's going to be on Spotify, LinkedIn. Bye.